All right, so welcome to this live stream, and we are going to be talking about balance and emotional intelligence. And I have Adana with me, and we got acquainted, I guess, a few weeks ago, and we wanted to just share. We've got some things that are very similar in our focus when it comes to supporting others. And so I would love for Donna to share just a little bit about yourself and kind of what got you started with what you do as a life mastery coach and a minister and a visionary for that Vibrant Living International. So tell us all about that.
Sure. My name is Donna Tashjian. It's my name is easier to say than it looks, and I am the founder of Vibrant Living International, and I want to help people live vibrant. I am a brilliant strategist, a life mastery coach, and I love to help leaders and aspiring leaders build their life from a place of excellence and ease at the same time. So,
Mm.
learning that there is a myth a lot of times where we feel like I have to have a balanced life. And even that saying that sometimes causes us stress. And you mentioned emotional intelligence, and it's really spiritual intelligence that we were going to talk about
There you
today.
go.
And it is
Yes.
a little bit it is a bit different than just talking about emotional intelligence, and a lot of people haven't thought about spiritual intelligence. So I have been coaching and mentoring people for over 30 years and love to help people excel.
Well, that is wonderful, and I'm glad that we're able to share about the spiritual intelligence method. And you are absolutely right, it does differ from emotional intelligence or maybe intuition. So, can you kind of walk us through a little bit about what that spiritual intelligence is? And from what I understand, you have a spiritual intelligence method that you use.
I do. It is the center of my different programs that I help people to, and a lot of that is where the ease comes in, is learning to work from that place of grace and ease. When we think about the way that we have learned to survive on this planet, we live predominantly by our five senses. If I can see it, touch it, taste it, and feel it, then it must be real. And but there are so many things that doesn't equal that. Let's take the wind. You can't see it, but we know it's real. You can see the results of the wind. But
Mm-hmm.
learning to be able to live from the unseen, because that is a substance of faith. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the things not yet seen. And so when we understand that as you think in your heart, so are you, and that things begin with the unseen. For example, the computer that we're talking on, the desk or chairs we're sitting at and on, were first a thought before they became something that we could touch, see, and feel. And when you look at life that way, it opens a lot of possibilities. Because if I can think it, believe it, it can be so. And being able to say that one of my favorite Tony Robbins quotes is impossible. Well, that depends on who you're talking to, because there's really nothing that's impossible when you can believe. And so learning to live from that place is a shift in the way that you think and the way that you believe, because everything is governed by our senses and what we can see. And so that is the basis of the spiritual intelligence method.
Well, and that makes it more relatable the way you presented it. So thank you for sharing that in a way that we can understand. Now, we often talk about learning to live without striving or burnout,
Mhm.
trying to focus on what actually it looks like in a high pressure world, especially
Mhm.
for us purpose driven women. How can we shift from that constant striving to leading more with that spiritual intelligence piece?
Well, it ties into a lot of what I've heard you teach on pausing and having
Mm.
those sacred pauses as well, because everything begins, whether we realize it or not, in those moments of stillness. And when we were learning to use those to be creative and to create, so the very first question I ask is, what's most important to you? And who is in charge of your calendar? I remember when my kids seemed to be in charge of my calendar. It's like all their activities, I have the places I had to be. I have to do this, I have to do that. And when all of that happens, when someone else seems to have power over your schedule, your responsibilities, that in itself causes stress because I feel out of control. I feel like I don't have a choice. I feel disempowered. So when that occurs, that's causing stress in my life. When I begin to shift instead, I'm sure you've said these same words, instead of I have to, I choose to.
Hmm.
And when we begin to just say, I choose to go to my kids' soccer games, I choose to clean the bathroom, I choose to go to the family event, or I choose not to. And that we begin
Hmm.
to empower ourselves by what's most important. And it's a lot of times choosing between two good things. It's not either one of them
Hmm.
are necessarily, but what is my highest priority in this situation? When you begin to do that, you bring balance to your life. And you're not working for burnout is when I've let somebody else take control and I've let go of my power to choose. Because every situation, there may be consequences. Somebody may be unhappy, but we always have the power to choose what we should be doing or what we want to be doing at that particular time. And when you take that back, so the first thing is what's most important to you? Make a list. And then look at how much that's actually on your calendar. Like a lot of us have said, I've said it. God is number one in my life, but you wouldn't know it by looking at my schedule
Hmm.
because he gets the leftovers. If I'm too tired, I'm like, I'm falling asleep, God, and I'm talking to you because he gets the leftovers. And so, what is most important? And is it on your schedule? Is it in your daily activities? And learning to really live from a value-based life as opposed to feeling like everyone else is taking over and I don't have any choice and I'm stressed out and too much to do. One of the biggest things one of my coaches ever said to me, I called her in tears, talking about all my to-do list and how there was not, things weren't going the way I wanted them. And I just in tears, and I really, Cindy, I really wanted somebody just to like hug me and say, I know it's so hard. That's not what she did. No,
No.
it's not. We were on a phone call and she couldn't really hug me, but that's really, if I was really honest, I just wanted somebody to commiserate with my seat. And we get those ways sometimes. We have those days.
Hmm.
And and she's just paused and she was quiet, and she says, Donna, do you know what overwhelm is? I'm like, yeah, it's me right now. I have all this stuff to do. She goes, no, overwhelm is when you're picturing it not going well and somehow you're failing. And I paused and I really thought, well, I have a choice whether I step into overwhelm or not. What am I imagining? Imagining that I'm not going to get it all done. I'm imagining that somehow I'm going to fail. Somehow it's going to turn out wrong. And therefore, all of my energy and my faith, if you want to talk about what I'm believing that it's going to go bad. And so when we realize that we're actually applying faith to what we don't want, it seems silly, but we do it all the time. And so when I
Yes.
begin to know I get to choose whether I step into overwhelm, that I'm the one that chooses whether I want to be overwhelmed and stressed out and struggle and that it's hard, it doesn't mean everything goes the way I want it to. Man, I haven't found that magic wand that just makes everybody just go, this is what Donna said, just do it and snap my fingers and it all goes well. But learning that when we begin to say, I have the power to choose how I'm going to be in every situation, I have the power to choose what I want to believe in every situation. It's more important who you are being than what you are doing. And when we
And
can learn that, that's more important for who you are being than what you are
yes.
doing. And most of us and everything in the way the world system is set up is what are you doing? What do you do for a living? Not who are you? And learn to,
Mhm.
I am going to be a calm, peaceful, powerful, wise woman in every
Mhm.
situation. And so when I come from that place, that's who Donna's going to be today. And then something goes haywire, I can still be that person in
Mhm.
that situation. And
Mhm.
this is an example of living from spiritual intelligence.
Mm. Yes, and learning to discern if it's God's timing or if it's just your own urgency talking. And that's kind of what you alluded to when you were talking to your coach. You know, your urgency was kind of taking over in that instance. And she just kind of reminded you, you know, to focus more on God's timing and, you know, staying real with things, real and relevant, and not borrowing trouble is what I call it, you know, borrowing trouble. I know that you have been called a truth exposer and a fear buster. And what you've been talking about right now can really speak to that. So, can you share a story where maybe a client you had a powerful breakthrough using this kind of, you know, truth telling and mm, I guess motivating or using spiritual intelligence as your momentum?
It is amazing to try to articulate some of these major transformation that occurs in
Mm,
people's lives because they really seem the way I describe it is small hinges move big doors. And it can be some of those really small moments where you think that
mm,
wasn't such of a big deal, but it is when we begin to understand that so it's lies like I'm not doing enough or I'm not enough. I think every single person I've ever talked to has felt like that. At some point, we feel like we're not doing enough. And it isn't always, to me, my overwhelm wasn't so much as God's timing is that am I doing enough? Am I doing the things I'm
mm,
supposed to do?
mhm.
Because if I'm messing up, then God, then it won't turn out. So as if it's all up to me. It's
Yeah.
taking that pressure all on myself. So I really wasn't worried about God's timing for me in that situation of overwhelm was that but there was so much to do. Am I doing
Yeah.
it? And so a lot of times it's from that place. Um, one of my clients that I was talking to today, and I was talking to her she had she had been going along doing well. She was applying uh, the action steps and doing the new activities in her life to reinforce who she really was, who God had created her to be. She grew up in a alcoholic abusive home. So you can
Mhm.
imagine all of
Mhm.
the associated belief systems and she was absent a time. And so when she came back to the next one, she goes, for the last few weeks, I've really been in what she called the mully grubs.
Hmm.
I've really been down and I don't know why. I don't understand why. And then I go, well, what did you do? She goes, well, then I was mad at myself because I'm there, which makes the whole thing bigger and all of that. And I explained to her one of the things that I read. It's one of my favorite books called The Big Leap. If you haven't read it, that's really
Mm-mm.
worthy of reading. The Gay Hendricks is the author, and it talks about us all having I call it a ceiling of blessing. How much goodness can you have in your life before you actually begin to sabotage yourself? Is the crux of it all. And I
Hmm.
said to her, I said her name, and I said, I think you've hit an upper limit. I said, I think you've hit something, so let's explore this. So we had a call today and talked to her about what was some of the areas what was the root of it, and beginning to find out when I talk about being a truth exposer is finding out what that root is. Because we do all of these other activities, but if I'm not dealing with the root, all I'm doing is pruning the leaves
Mhm.
and the plant keeps coming back. So for each individual, those stories of what the root is a little bit different. It was always I'm not doing enough. And whenever I get in a series, a place where I'm feeling vulnerable or that one rears its head again. And so it doesn't win anymore, but it did for a while. And so helping her discover what her root was is what I specialize in. Is because
Mhm.
it's not a cookie cutter thing. Spiritual intelligence isn't a there is some steps, but it's not a cookie cutter situation. It's every individual has different things that's hindering them and in their growth cycle because she
Mhm.
was doing fabulous till she wasn't. And so what she had hit there was another breakthrough. And when I reframed it as that, this is time for another breakthrough. This is going to be awesome. And taking her there and walking her through it so it happened. In a half hour, we had everything shifted
Mm.
and
Yeah.
began to expose what was really going on from something else from her childhood and being able to bring her to the next level of that. So that's one story.
Wow. Yeah. And we often talk about things like that and we think, well, why can't I be like her or why can't I be like this situation? You are right that it is very different for each one of us. And often I feel like it often takes someone from the outside to kind of listen and kind of repeat back to you what you're saying for you to realize, wow, that is what I'm saying. And no wonder I'm kind of, out of sync. And we hear so much about that work-life balance, but we don't often hear people talk about that spiritual balance. So as we get ready to wind up here, I wonder how can we realign when we feel spiritually drained?
Well, it depends on where you are in your relationship with God. I'm a Christian, so that's the way I'm
Hmm.
speaking, but it depends on where you are in a relationship with God. And that's the first, questions. One of the first questions that I ask is understanding that. But we think it's hard. And it's so, let's say that it's been 3 or 4 days since I've really spent time with God, or maybe longer since I've even done that. And I'm like feeling disconnected. That's one of the very first symptoms is there's just this feeling of I'm disconnected from my source, from the vine. And so, it's like I need to feel bad for a few days because I've done this. So I need to somehow punish myself. I know we don't think this out loud, but it's how we behave. As if we need to punish ourselves for a period of time. I need to feel guilty because this has happened. So I need to feel bad for a while. I don't know how long a while is, but it goes on longer than we anticipate. And
Hmm.
then we need to feel guilty for this. When it's as simple as this, it's just turning to God in all earnestly, going, I miss you. Forgive me for not being here. Can we talk? And that's the beginning. It's simple as that. In religious words, or we would call it Christianity words, is repentance.
Yeah.
Which is turning, surrender. It's all of those big words, but that's what I did. Hey God, I miss you. I'm sorry that I've missed talking to you for a few days. Do you have time for me today?
And he
And you can
does.
almost feel that. When I said that,
Yeah.
you can feel that. And it's as
Hmm.
easy as that. And then you continue your conversation and pick up. He didn't move. We did.
Yeah.
And a lot of our stuff, we just our beliefs put up the wall that really was never there. And it's just learning that we can just turn to him at any moment. Hey, God, I messed up. Will you forgive me? And turn to him. And I'm not flippantly saying that. I'm sincerely saying that. And
Yeah.
about your comment about having someone else see what we can't see. And I agree to a degree, but there's people that are gifted at that. And a lot of times our best friends are not. And
Yeah.
so, finding the right person, because a lot of times I don't know, I've told people the wrong people things about my life and it ended up backfiring instead of helping. So choose who you have speak into your life and who helps you grow carefully.
Mhm. Yes, I do agree with that, and I'm glad you brought that up. As we finish up here, can you tell people if they would like to maybe get to know you better and learn some things from you, how they can get in touch with you?
Uh, well, you can always connect with me on Facebook and on social media. My name is unusual, so I am easy to find. My website is the letter I, vibrantliving.com. And I have a YouTube channel called the Vibrant Living International Channel. So I have videos every week on that, and that's another way to get to know me. And I will look forward to meeting you.
Excellent. And we will put those links in the show notes and also in this recording that is here in the Facebook community. So thank you, Donna, for being with us today and for sharing about that spiritual intelligence. I always love when there is, a word or a phrase that's something I do know about, but I didn't realize, until you explained it. So thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure to be here.
All right.
Bye.
We'll say goodbye, everyone.